Shalom, shalom, Israel. Yashami. Got another Bible basics class today, accompanied by my brother. All praise be to the Most High. We appreciate everybody for showing up and everyone who's tuning in online. We're going to get right into the lesson because I know we're starting a little bit late. So as you can tell by the title, we're touching on the 12 tribes chart. I turned my mic down just a little bit. I think we got somebody at the door too. Now, I know you're fairly new to the truth, but I'm sure you've heard of the 12 tribe chart where it's listed as to what tribe we actually come from based upon what you are, right? How's it going, bro? Good. Good question. No, it's usually the Saturday classes that's really the big one. Yeah, man, take a seat. How you doing? Good. So yeah, like I said, so we're gonna touch on this chart. The thing is, when you're new to the truth, more than likely, 99.9% of the time, you're gonna come across this. And you're gonna see it while in the truth. It's something that Israel uses to help identify even more of who we are. Because you're already coming into the truth, your spirit is bearing witness that you're already a Jew, Israelite, according to the Bible. But we know that our nation is comprised of tribes. 12 tribes makes up our complete nation, right? And we got the 10 tribes as the Northern Kingdom, as we like to call our so-called Latino brothers, or indigenous, right, brothers and sisters. And then the Southern Kingdom, as most people like to coin as the black people, or Negroes, right? So that's what we're getting into tonight. First scripture I want to go to is Jeremiah chapter 31. Because one thing we got to understand is that the Most High said that his people, his chosen people, was going to be here forever. With that comes a couple of different things. History, of course, has to happen. Read.
If those ordinances depart from before me.
So he just got done naming. He said, I got the moon, the stars, the sun. We got the waves of the sea. He said, if all those ordinances depart, they leave, right? Go ahead.
Said the Lord, then the seed of Israel also shall cease from being a nation before me forever.
It said at that point, when all of those different things leave, then the chosen people of Israel would cease from being a nation. And as we can see, these things are here every single day we wake up. They're not going nowhere, which means our people aren't going anywhere. Go ahead.
Verse 37, thus said the Lord, if heaven above can be measured.
He said, and furthermore, if those things happen to go away, if y'all can measure the heavens above, you tell me how far into space it goes until it stops, right? Go ahead.
And the foundations of the earth search out beneath.
It says, you tell me how deep the earth goes. You show me the bottom of the ocean, right? Go ahead.
I will also cast off all the seed of Israel for all that they have done, said the Lord.
Now, is that something that any man can do? Of course not. They haven't done it yet, but they're trying to. They trying to go to Mars. They trying to go to the depths of the ocean. You know, they've only searched about 5% of the ocean. Only about 5% of the ocean has been discovered. In other words, we're not going nowhere. And that's something our people can feel good about, knowing that, you know what? A literal, physical people of the Bible is still here on this earth. That happens to be us. But now it's like, okay, I'm learning. I'm an Israelite. There's more to it. I'm getting thrown these different doctrines left and right. Oh, I'm this. I'm supposed to be doing this. Most High said, this is our filter. The Bible is what you're supposed to go to say yay or nay about anything that we're doing in our lives. And the Most High gave us good doctrine, as the scriptures say. All right, so let's go to the book of Proverbs, chapter 14. Proverbs chapter 14 and verse 18.
The book of Proverbs chapter 14, verse 18, the simple inherit folly.
It says the simple inherit folly. When you're a simple-minded person, you're prone to believe anything, foolishness. And that's what we're getting into tonight with this whole 12 tribes chart. Because as the title says, it's bogus. It makes no sense. It's retarded. It's folly. It's foolishness because the Most High didn't ordain it. As much as people like to say he did, he didn't. It's not scriptural. Go ahead.
But the prudent are crowned with knowledge.
You see, but the prudent person, you're going to be crowned with knowledge. When you're taking your time, being careful, proven, all these sources and things that's being brought to you, at that point, you're going to be crowned with that knowledge, that wisdom, and that understanding. So this is what we're getting into tonight, right? So dealing with the 12 tribes chart. You know where our land is, sis? The land, where's our people's land at? I guess some people will say it's in Africa. But like, where is our land? What's our land? Israel, right, exactly, right? Now, were we a nation of people before we had our land? Were we a nation of people? So like, for example, you got Chinese people, right? Was there Chinese people before there was the land of China? So with us, that's not the case. We were a complete nation before we got our land. Yeah. Remember, when we was in Egypt, we was already a nation of people. Most High said, I'm going to save Israel from the Egyptians. And then we had to wander the wilderness for 40 years before we even got to our land. So what does that tell us? The landmass, the geographical location on this earth does not determine who we are. That's something the Most High said from the beginning. Because when you go into this 12 tribe chart breakdown, that's the main thing that they're using to depict who is who. If you're from this part of the country, you're from this tribe. If you're from this part of the country, or hell, if you're from this state, you're this tribe. The Bible does not endorse that. We was already a complete nation before we even got to our chosen land. So how much more before we came here to the land of our slavery and oppression, right? Let's go to the book of 1 Chronicles. Because this right here is going to explain to us exactly how we are reckoned as a nation. 1 Chronicles chapter 9. Give me verse 1.
The book of 1 Chronicles chapter 9, verse 1. So all Israel.
Some of Israel?
All Israel.
Just a pinch of Israel.
All Israel were reckoned by genealogy.
No, by their landmass.
By genealogy.
Where they're living.
By genealogy.
It says that we are reckoned by our genealogy, who we descend from. That's how we're reckoned as a nation of people. Go ahead.
And behold, they were written in the book of the kings of Israel and Judah.
And that's the thing. As a nation, we kept records of who we were. Just like any nation, they got libraries and they got the Social Security offices. You got to go to get your birth certificates. We had that in Israel. It's no different. We kept records of who we came from, when we was born, all of that, right? Go to the book of Numbers, chapter 1. It is no different. But that's something a lot of people tend to forget. They'll read this and then still try to endorse something the Most High never said. Yeah, I know Israel's reckoned by genealogy, but if you was born here, if your father comes from this country or from this state, then this the tribe you of. The Bible don't say that. So give me Numbers chapter 1 and read verse 18.
Numbers chapter 1, verse 18. And they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month. And they declared their pedigrees after their families.
So we declared our pedigrees after our families. That's how you was marked. Like, oh, okay, you got such and such house. Like you hear that in a lot of the old medieval movies and medieval times. House this or House Wilson, House Stark. Like that was your pedigree, who you came from, the house of this person, right? Go ahead.
By the house of their fathers.
By the house of our fathers. Because that's how Israel is reckoned. Whoever your father is, that's who you are. Because the man produces the seed. The seed is what brings forth life in the womb. So whoever your father is, that is who you are. Whatever nation your father is, that is the nation of whom you are. It doesn't matter what your mother is. The father is what determines the nationality. That's what the Bible is letting us know. Go ahead.
According to the number of the names, from 20 years old and upward by their poll.
Exactly. So we had polls. We had a system understood like, hey, if you come from this line of family, y'all be over here. We got your registry. All the records line up. It's clear as day. So keep that in mind, right? Now, let's hop over to the book of Genesis. Because this is where the understanding that people try to give about the chart comes from, the book of Genesis. And I'm not going to go into it because it's real extensive, so I'm not going to go into every single sentence. I'm not going to break down with another scripture. I'm still going to give the sense of it. and it'll make sense at the end of the lesson. If you want the full breakdown, it's like a 6-hour lesson where it's unrefutable, undeniable. The chart is not accurate. It's not scriptural. It's on our website, truenation.org. You can go to I believe it's the knowledge tab, the drop down. You can go to video lesson, and it says the inaccuracy of the 12 tribes chart. You can watch all 4 parts of it. You'll get a full understanding, right? So I'm going to bring a couple of different angles in tonight. So, like I said, we're not going to read through this whole chapter, but let's start at verse 1.
What chapter?
Chapter 49. Genesis 49. Start at verse 1.
Genesis chapter 49, verse 1. And Jacob called unto his sons and said, Gather yourselves together, that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days. Gather yourselves together, and hear ye sons of Jacob, and hearken unto Israel your father.
So this is where people saying, hey, this is where our forefather Israel is going to break down to us where we're going to be at in the last days. He's going to tell us exactly where we're going to be at by tribe here in the Americas in the last days. So just read down to like verse 12, just so we can get a quick synopsis of it. Go ahead.
Verse 3, Reuben, thou art my firstborn, my might, and the beginning of my strength, the excellency of dignity, and the excellency of power. Unstable as water, thou shalt not excel, because thou wentest up to thy father's bed. Then defilest thou it. He went up to my couch. Simeon and Levi are brethren, instruments of cruelty are in their habitations. O my soul, come not thou into their secret, unto their assembly my honor be not thou united. For in their anger they slew a man, and in their self-will they dig down a wall. Cursed be their anger, for it was fierce, and their wrath, for it was cruel. I will divide them in Jacob, and scatter them in Israel. Judah, thou art he whom thy brethren shall praise. Thy hand shall be in the neck of thy enemies. Thy father's children shall bow down before thee. Judah is a lion's whelp. From the prey, my son, thou art gone up. He stooped down, he couched as a lion. And as an old lion, who shall rouse him up? The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet, unto Shiloh come, and unto him shall the gathering of the people be. Binding his foal unto the vine, and his ass's coat unto the choice vine, he washed his garments in wine, and his clothes in the blood of grapes. His eyes shall be red with wine, and his teeth white with milk.
Now, just from those couple of scriptures that we read, without even getting into it, does that sound like any type of location within America? This is what we're dealing with, because remember, the Most High is not the author of confusion. I'm not sitting there saying that everything in the Bible is just as easy as picking up and reading and you understand, because there is prophecies, definitely. There's dark sayings and things that, it would take a lot of knowledge and wisdom given from the Most High to understand. But just from reading this, it doesn't sound like anything where the Most High is saying, hey, you know what? A lot of you Israelites is going to be in California come 2020. And y'all going to be in Mexico come 2020. Y'all going to be in Canada. Y'all going to be in Brazil. I'm not getting that from this. But it's cool because we're going to go into it. So remember, he said, and Jacob called unto his sons and said, Gather yourselves together, that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days. Now let's touch on this part, because this is the selling point where they say this is the last days. We can agree we in the last days right now. I agree. But the thing is this passage talking about literally our time right here in these last days? Let's go to the book of Acts, because you'll find out that the last days has been talked about many times in the scriptures, where things was actually being fulfilled at those times. So we got to get an understanding on what's going on. Let's go to the book of Acts, and let's go to chapter 2. And let's start at verse 14. Watch this.
The book of Acts, chapter 2, verse 14. But Peter, standing up with the 11, lifted up his voice and said unto them, Ye men of Judea, and all ye that dwell at Jerusalem, be this known unto you, and hearken to my words. For these are not drunken, as ye suppose, seeing it is but the third hour of the day. But this is that which was spoken by the prophet Joel.
So hold on. There's a major event going on right now where, hey, Peter had to stand up. He said, look, brethren, pay attention. What we're witnessing right now is what was prophesied of by the prophet Joel. Read.
Verse 17, and it came to pass in the last days, said God, I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh.
So he said, Peter's saying, what's going on right now is what Joel was prophesying. And what Joel prophesied is this again. Read it.
And it shall come to pass in the last days, said God.
Now, the book of Acts compared to year 2020, they was considering that time the last days. The book of Acts, what we just read, they're saying that what Joel prophesied, and what Joel prophesied was, and it shall come to pass in the last days, they said that was being fulfilled at that time. Where whatever year that was in Acts, they were considering that the last days. Because they're saying what Joel was prophesying was coming to pass right then. Read.
And it came to pass in the last days, said God, I will pour out of my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, and your young men shall see visions, and your old men shall dream dreams.
So let's not make it look like I'm pulling nothing out of a hat, trying to pull a fast one on you. Let's go to the book of Joel so we can see where that prophet actually prophesied this. Joel chapter 2. And we're going to read verse 28.
Book of Joel, chapter 2, verse 28, and it shall come to pass afterward that I will pour out of my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, and your old men shall dream dreams, your young men shall see visions.
Now you see that? You got to understand that some words and phrases that's being used doesn't mean the literal phrase that we're taking it as. When he said the last days, all Joel was saying was, this is going to happen at a later time. It's the same thing with Genesis. That's not saying in the last days where the earth is about to be destroyed, all of this is about to happen to the sons of Jacob. He's saying, no, look, at a later point in history, this is going to happen to y'all. Or this has already happened, and this is going to be the aftermath of that. It's not saying the literal last days. All right, so let's go back to the Old Testament again. Let's get the book of Deuteronomy. Because it's the book of Deuteronomy in conjunction with Genesis that they use to try to bring forth this understanding. Now watch this. Now read Deuteronomy 33. And let's start at verse 1.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 33, verse 1, and this is the blessing wherewith Moses, the man of God, blessed the children of Israel before his death.
Now here's the thing. We got two different accounts going on, two different things. You got an account where Jacob, our forefather Israel, is letting his sons know something, and then you also got Moses telling the children of Israel something. Moses is saying, look, this is the blessing wherewith Moses, the man of God, blessed the children of Israel. Now hold this and go back to Genesis 49 and read verse 1.
Book of Genesis, chapter 49, verse 1, and Jacob called unto his sons and said, gather yourselves together, that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days.
Did he say, I'm going to tell you the blessings that's going to happen to you in the last days? He said, I'm going to show you what's going to befall you in the last days. Moses is giving the blessings to the children of Israel. Our forefather Jacob was showing, hey, Israel, this is going to happen to y'all later on. Not a blessing. Coming to America was not a blessing. This is our punishment, the land of our captivity. Most High wasn't going to bless us abundantly here in this land. Do we get blessings? Of course. We waking up, we learning we the children of Israel. But is this the land that floweth with milk and honey that we was promised? So no, this isn't the blessing of the Most High. And just to get that, this is the definition of befall. It says of something bad that usually happens to someone. So how is Moses giving the blessings to the children of Israel and Jacob is giving the bad things that's supposed to happen to the children of Israel, but it's used in the same thing to give an understanding of who we are today, of where we going to be at? It doesn't work like that. It's two different things being mentioned. So now we actually going to go into this Genesis 49 and break it down a little bit. So go ahead and start at verse 1 again.
Genesis chapter 49, verse 1. And Jacob called unto his sons and said, gather yourselves together, that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days. Gather yourselves together, and hear ye, sons of Jacob, and hearken unto Israel your father.
So again, remember, he's not saying this isn't the end of the world. He's just saying, look, this is going to happen at a later time. Go ahead.
Verse 3, Reuben, thou art my firstborn, my might, and the beginning of my strength, the excellency of dignity.
It says, Reuben, thou art my firstborn, my might, and the beginning of my strength, the excellency of dignity. Now, what brothers is going to do is they're going to take that passage and they're going to attribute that to the Seminole Indians. The reason why is they're going to say they were the ones putting up all these different peace treaties, all the different dignified hairdresses and warlike apparel that the Indians wore. That's how you know that this is the Seminole Indian. Well, let's see what the scriptures have to say about it. Go to, go to Genesis 37 and verse 21. Let's see why Jacob was saying, Reuben, you're my firstborn boy, my might, the beginning of my strength, and the excellency of dignity. Let's see why he said that. 37 and 21.
The book of Genesis, chapter 37, verse 21. And Reuben heard it.
Actually, start at verse 20.
Verse 20. Come now, therefore, and let us slay him.
It says, come now, therefore, and let us slay him. What we're reading about right now is the history of our ancestor Joseph. Because Joseph was one of the brothers. Joseph had a blessing from the Most High to where he was able to see visions and dream dreams and give the interpretations of them at a young age. His brothers didn't like that and got jealous. So much that they were ready to kill him. You got all your brothers conspiring to kill your little brother because he was the youngest, right? Read on. Let's see what happens.
Come now, therefore, and let us slay him and cast him into some pit, and we will say some evil beast had devoured him, and we shall see what will become of his dreams.
They said, oh, this nigga want to dream dreams, huh? Well, he should be able to see us getting ready to kill him then. That's how they thinking. We going to kill him, throw him in a pit, and talk about something. He must have fell in the pit, broke his ankle, and didn't get out. Or a bear got to him or something. This is what all the brothers, 12 or 11, was conspiring against their little brother. Go ahead.
Verse 21, and Reuben heard it.
Reuben, the firstborn. Go ahead.
And he delivered him out of their hands and said, let us not kill him.
Reuben, out of all the other brothers, was the one who took it upon himself to say, let's not do this evil thing. Let's not kill our little brother because you upset. He delivered his little brother from their hands. That's a dignified act. That makes a lot more sense to say why Jacob would say that. You had a lot of dignity. Go ahead.
And Reuben said unto them, shed no blood, but cast him into this pit that is in the wilderness, and lay no hand upon him, that he might rid him out of their hands to deliver him to his father again.
And you see that? This is the firstborn. He's doing the right thing, being the man of the family that he should be. You know what? Look, let's not kill him. Let's just put him in this thing. Let's put him in this pit, and we just going to leave him. But his whole thought was, once all the brothers leave, he going to go back and get his little brother and bring him back to his father again. Let's go back to Genesis and read verse 3 again, chapter 49, verse 3.
Verse 3, Reuben, thou art my firstborn, my might, and the beginning of my strength.
Wasn't that a mighty act? Didn't he show a lot of courage and strength by doing that? Going against 11 other people? Go ahead.
And the beginning of my strength, the excellency of dignity, and the excellency of power.
They said, man, that was an excellent act of dignity right there. Not only that, but the firstborn, the scriptures talk about how when you have that firstborn son, how that's the first heir to your throne. That's your power right there. When I die, he's the next man up. This is what we dealing. We're not dealing with no Seminole Indians. Go ahead. So it says, and the excellency of power. Go to 1 Chronicles. And you could just keep your finger on Genesis 49 because we're going to keep coming back here. Go to 1 Chronicles chapter 5. You got to remember, our forefathers had a different connection with the Most High. So oftentimes what you would see was when the father was, close to his day of death, he would always bless his family. And a blessing isn't like, oh, here's my necklace or something. No, the Most High would talk to our forefathers and give their sons and their daughters direction a lot of times on how they need to proceed. Like, hey, I'm giving you this plot of land, do this with it, and the Most High going to bless you. Or you know what? The Most High was talking to me. He says you're going to be great in your future if you continue doing this or doing that. That's what we're dealing with when we're dealing with the blessings, right? So read that for me. 1 Chronicles chapter 5 and verse 18.
1 Chronicles chapter 5, verse 18. The son of Reuben.
So we're dealing with Reuben because he said, look, you're the excellency of power as well. Go ahead.
And the Gadites and half the tribe of Manasseh of valiant men.
Valiant men. We're dealing with men of war. Go ahead.
Men able to bear buckler and sword and to shoot with bow and skillful in war.
Do you see why he said you're the excellency of power? Out of all the other tribes, these are the ones who was most blessed with this going on right here. Go ahead.
Were 440,703 score that went out to the war.
Mighty men. Now let's go back to Genesis. So watch this. He said, look, Reuben, you got all this good stuff going on for you. But, read, because remember he said, I'm going to show you what's going to befall you. Go ahead.
Reuben, thou art my firstborn, my might, and the beginning of my strength, the excellency of dignity, and the excellency of power. Unstable as water.
He said, however, you're unstable as water. As great as you are right now, you're unstable. You're wavering. And we're going to see why that was. Go ahead.
Thou shalt not excel.
He said, as good as you are, you're not going to excel. Read.
Because thou wentest up to thy father's bed, then defilest thou it. He went up to my couch.
Reuben committed fornication with his father's wife. Go to 1 Chronicles chapter 5, verse 1. He said, for that, you're going to have to pay at some point in the future. You're not going to excel. Things is okay right now. It's not going to be that way forever moving forward because you went and did this heinous act. You committed fornication. You went up and slept with my wife. Go ahead.
1 Chronicles chapter 5, verse 1. Now the sons of Reuben, the firstborn of Israel, for he was the firstborn, but for as much as he defiled his father's bed, his birthright was given unto the sons of Joseph, the son of Israel.
Because that's the thing. Your firstborn gets the birthright. Same thing with Jacob and Esau. Remember, Esau was born first. He had the birthright. And what did he do? He sold it unto Jacob. He said, I didn't want this. Here, take it. That's what happened with Reuben. The birthright was supposed to be his, but instead it got passed on. So let's go back to Genesis. And we could pick up at verse 5.
Genesis chapter 49, verse 5. Simeon and Levi are brethren.
So we know that. Simeon and Levi, they brothers. Go ahead.
Instruments of cruelty are in their habitations.
So here's the thing. Instruments of cruelty are in their habitations. They say with this passage right here, this identifies without a shadow of a doubt that the Levites are the Haitians because they got voodoo. They're going to get them dolls and they're going to stick them instruments of cruelty in them dolls and you're going to wake up with them stomach pains and they're going to put hexes and curses on you. Is that what the Bible is dealing with right here? Or is there more to it? Read on.
O my soul, come not thou into their secret, unto their assembly. My honor be not thou united. For in their anger they slew a man, and in their self will they dig down a wall.
Now, does that sound like voodoo to you? He said, look, Simeon and Levi, y'all brothers. And they said that the Simeonites are those of Simeon are the Dominicans, and the Levites are the Haitians, right? It says, the instruments of cruelty are in their habitations. That's the voodoo. It says, "O my soul, come now thou unto their secret," because they doing all that stuff in secrecy, right? Unto their assembly, mine honor, be not thou united. That's why they not united. They can't get along. They living on separate sides of the island. They can't get along because of this right here. It says, in their anger they slew a man, and in their self-will they dig down a wall. Verse 7, go ahead.
Cursed be their anger, for it was fierce, and their wrath, for it was cruel. I will divide them in Jacob and scatter them in Israel.
Now, how much history do you know about our forefathers Simeon and Levi? You heard about their little sister, Dinah? Let's go to the book of Genesis 34. I'm not going to get the whole thing. Like I said, we got a whole breakdown on this already. Read 34 and start at verse 14. So just to catch you up, Simeon and Levi had a little sister named Dinah. Dinah was beautiful. They were living at that time amongst heathens. It was heathens that surrounded our people. More importantly, the Hamitic nations, Africans, real Africans. The African ended up raping their little sister, right? So go ahead and read that.
Genesis chapter 34, verse 14. And they said unto them, we cannot do this thing to give our sister to one that is uncircumcised.
So he had already slept with his little sister, and the dude, because I believe he was a prince of that nation. They came to him like, hey, man, you know, me and your sister, we pretty much already did this. I'm trying to bring her on as my wife. Like, what's up? I got your blessing. Even though he already bypassed that and raped her pretty much, our people wasn't just willingly going with the other nations like that. So Simeon and Levi, they like, look, man, we can't just be giving off our holy people to an uncircumcised nation. And they're literally dealing with circumcision, the getting rid of the foreskin from the head of the penis. So look what they tell him. Go ahead.
For that we are a reproach unto us.
Uh-huh.
But in this will we consent unto you.
He said, but if you do this, we'll consent to you. We'll give you our sister. Go ahead.
If ye will be as we be, that every male of you be circumcised.
He said, everybody in your kingdom got to be circumcised if you want my sister. If you want her that bad, everybody in your nation got to be like us. They got to be circumcised. Go ahead.
Then we will give our daughters unto you, and we will take your daughters to us, and we will dwell with you, and we will become one people.
So he telling them all the sweet nothings that he want to hear. He like, cool, that's it. Because remember, our people was a powerful nation. Just like today, these white girls, they love getting these black men. They love getting Hispanic men. We the prize. They want to be with us. White dudes, they want to get with our sisters. The Asian dudes, they want to get with our sisters. So he's like, cool. It was deeper than just the bond that he had with his little sister. He said, our nations can start joining together now. So, you know, his head's in the clouds. He's like, for sure, I'm with it. Drop down to read verse 25.
Verse 25, and it came to pass on the third day when they were sore.
So look, everybody in that nation got circumcised. You know, they were sending out newspapers. They was probably going by horsemen. Everybody get circumcised. Everybody get circumcised. So they do it. When dudes get circumcised at a later age, like when they grown or whatever, you're sore from that. A lot of people deal with that coming into this truth because everybody wasn't circumcised when they was little. But to keep Passover, males have to be circumcised. So some brothers have to have that operation done as grown men. You be sore after that. You can't walk. You stuck. Or if you do walk and you waddling like a penguin, I done seen Jakes. I'm like, man, I feel for you, bro. We got to keep these commandments, though, right? So it said, look, on the third day, when they were sore, go ahead.
That two of the sons of Jacob, Simeon and Levi, Dinah's, is it Dinah or Dinah?
Dinah.
Dinah's brethren took each man his sword and came upon the city boldly and slew all the males.
They destroyed a whole city. They killed a whole city of people because of what happened to their little sister. Hold that. Let's go back to Genesis 49. Read that verse 5.
Genesis chapter 49, verse 5, Simeon and Levi are brethren, instruments of cruelty are in their habitation.
Is it making sense? Is this dealing with the Haitians? No, it's dealing with our people's history. Go ahead.
O my soul, come not thou into their secret, unto their assembly. Mine honor be not thou united, for in their anger they slew a man, and in their self will they dig down a wall.
In their self-will, they dig down a wall. Because you got to think about all the hard work that our forefather had put in to make sure that they had a decent standing with all the nations that they were surrounded by. He said, man, I had a wall of protection up on us, and you went and killed a whole city. You broke that wall down. We're a single nation by ourselves. Who knows how many allies that city had that are against us now because of your self-will? Now we got to think about the same mentality moving forward, right? Because remember, these are things that was going to befall our people moving forward. You know about the Maccabees? We got a feast every year called Feast of Dedication. And it's a celebration of us rededicating our temple to the Most High, Israel rededicating themselves to keeping the law, statutes, and commandments. The severity behind it was that our people was in slavery to the Grecians, the Greeks. But it's not like we do like today and we marching and raising signs, talking about we shall overcome. No, our people killed our oppressors. It was a big revolt that happened back then, led by the family of the Maccabees. Guess what tribe they was from? Oh, of course, there was Israel, but I'm saying, guess what tribe? They from Levi. Them instruments of cruelty. They was the first ones to put them cruel hands on all of our enemies at that point in time. But it wasn't Levi alone. It said Simeon too. Have you heard of our foremother Judith? She was from the tribe of Simeon. If you know about her history, she went and destroyed one of our oppressors. Killed him in cold blood. And if I'm not mistaken, did she cut his head off? Or was man, pretty much our sister Judith Cole, man, she was a beautiful sister. And at that point in time, our nation, we didn't have all the power that we once had. And we had enemies coming up against us. They was threatening us, saying, hey, look, if y'all don't come down by this day, we coming up there and we're going to kill all of y'all. So what Judith did was, she was the most beautiful woman in Israel at the time. She took it upon herself to go down and meet the enemy. She walking through the enemy's camps, and it said all the enemy soldiers was like, who was that? That's the Hebrew women? Man, I can't believe we about to go and kill them. They got women looking like this. She went to the head dude, the captain, over all the hundreds of thousands of soldiers that was out there, right? She wined and dining with them. She said, look, man, I know y'all about to come up here and kill us. I ain't really trying to go out like that. I'm trying to be next to you. If anything, you know, you can take out my people, but let me be your wife. Don't kill me. I'm sweet, right? Dude was loving it. He threw a feast and everything. He said, for sure. He getting drunk, eating good. She never slept with him, though. She ain't take the whole route. She ain't sleep with him. She got him feeling right. They went to bed. He knocked out. As soon as he knocked out, she killed him. Smote him in the head. Boom, boom, boom. On holes. Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, the Disney movie. Yeah. So our foremother was vicious with it. She was of the tribe of Simeon. Same thing, said, look, instruments of cruelty going to be at y'all hands. Even though they used it for righteous purposes, these attributes still stained those tribes as a whole. And they committed a whole bunch of horrible acts within the nation because of that. All right? Let's drop down. Let's read Genesis 49 and verse 8. And again, the whole thing is, people are using this to say who we are as a tribe. Now, the thing is, there's nothing wrong with wanting to have true connection to who we are. Like, yeah, like, I know I'm an Israelite, but it would feel a whole lot better to be like, you know what? I come from the tribe of Judah, though. I come from the tribe of Simeon. Like, that's just like an extra, like, ooh, I relate to this. But the Most High said that's not necessary. Your spirit already bear witness.
So Judith, she actually did, chop the head off the chief captain. I got a precept. Judah chapter 13, verse 15, it says, so she took the head out of the bag and showed it and said unto them, behold, the head of Holofernes, the chief captain of the army of Ashur, and behold, the canopy wherein he did lie in his drunkenness, and the Lord has smitten him by the hand of a woman.
Sisters is cold when they want to be. Because that's the thing, man. Israel, we make a lot of excuses. I see a whole lot of sorry Israelite men and a lot of sorry Israelite women. As much women that sit here and talk about the Israelite men just oppress them and we don't never uplift them. And how many of y'all is moving in that spirit to where you willing to give your life for your nation? She didn't do it for her husband, her man. She did it on behalf of her nation. Judith 13 and 15. She did that on behalf of her entire nation. Brothers and sisters she probably never even met. Babies she never even met, seen, or touched. That's the type of love our sisters had, or the type of love our brothers had for our nation. And she's so cold because after she killed him, she walked back out the camp to go back to Israel. So you know all the people in the camp looking at him like, oh yeah, he probably just hit that. Not even knowing his head is in her satchel, her purse. He took it back to the squad and was like, look, it's our enemy. Go rain hell on them now. Right? So again, you know, people they make too much fantasy out of this Bible. You know, leave that to Hollywood. That's what they do. They like to make things all mystical and magical. Everything in the Bible is not like that. There is certain things where it's like, ooh, okay, this isn't one of those things. They're going to try to make it deep, and then they'll shame you because you don't believe it. Oh, you just not spiritual. You may not even be an Israelite. What? Huh? I'm saying people, like certain people in this truth will try to make you feel bad and will try to shame you because you don't take this bootleg doctrine that they teaching. Like what we're reading right now makes sense. When you're going through all the other precepts, it makes sense. When they teach it to you, it's retarded. I'm not going to get to it, but the part where it talks about Issachar, they say, yeah, the Mexicans is Issachar because they work hard. Well, damn. I thought we worked 400 years in slavery. That's not working hard. Like that's the idiocy in some of these doctrines that's being taught. Yeah, that's the Mexicans. Mexicans is Issachar because they stubborn as hell, just like the donkey, and they work hard. Retarded. But it will shame you, though, like I was saying, if you don't believe it. But the thing is, we ain't got to be shamed. We got the scriptures that we can read for ourselves. I read the scriptures plainly. The scripture said that we was going to go into captivity and lose record of who we are. So when did that change? But read on. Let's get verse 8.
Genesis chapter 49, verse 8. Judah, thou art he whom thy brethren shall praise. Thy hand shall be in the neck of thy enemies. Thy father's children shall bow down before thee.
So here's the kicker. Judah. They say that's the black people, the Negroes. That just goes to show how outdated and old this understanding is. We don't even call ourselves Negroes no more. You find any 12 tribes chart, it's going to say blacks/Negroes. We're Judah because thou art he whom thy brethren shall praise. Yeah, you know, black people, we just the most influential out of all the tribes. You know, we still brothers and everything with the other tribes, but we just way more influential. You looking at the rap industry, you see a whole lot more black people. You know, the sports, a whole lot. This is the understanding that they come with. This is why we was going to be praised, right? It says, thy hand shall be in the neck of thine enemies. Historically speaking, black people, we was one of the main ones to always go at the neck of our enemies. We was the first ones to put hands on them. You got all the different revolutionary acts, the Black Panther movement, all the civil rights movements. I mean, you know, no disrespect to the other tribes, but they just wasn't on that. We was the main ones pushing. That's why we Judah. Is that what it's talking about? Read. Actually, dealing with verse 8. Read that again.
Judah, thou art he whom thy brethren shall praise. Thy hand shall be in the neck of thy enemies. Thy father's children shall bow down before thee.
It says, we, speaking as Judah, were the people whom our brethren shall praise, because Judah was the lineage, the direct line of which Christ came from. Christ came from the tribe of Judah, right? The kingship came through Judah. All the different kings, how it was supposed to be established, was through Judah. This is why it says, look, all our brethren shall praise. Ain't nothing wrong with praising a righteous man. Who's more righteous than Yahushai? And all praise be to the Most High and Yahushai's righteousness for that. King David, righteous individual. When David was ruling, kingdom was cool. Praise be to David. Well, praising and worshiping is different. We worship the Most High. We do anything the Most High tell us to do. If I tell you to go outside and kill somebody, you gonna worship me to that fashion? You may have hella love for me, but if I say go kill somebody right now, you gonna go do it? If you was to go do it, then you would be worshiping me. You have to speak up. But we know that's not scriptural. Well, you got to understand, Christ is king. It says every knee is going to bow. We all going to worship. But it's not the same as, because remember, Christ, he came to do the Father's will. That's the Son of the Most High. Anything Christ is telling us to do is given from the Most High. He's our king, though. That reverence is always given to the king. No different with David. Remember, when David had his situation going on, people was mocking him, throwing rocks at him, stuff like that. David's men was ready to go put those men to death because that's the king. That's the anointed. Christ is the anointed of the Most High. All due respect go to him. So you got to remember, we're Christ's creation. And that's a whole nother lesson. But Christ created all of this through the authority of the Most High. Like I said, that's a whole different lesson. I don't want to go off into that. But when you get into the creation of earth, the creation of man and everything like that, the Most High gave Christ the power to create. This is his creation. That's why he's going to be over this earth when that time comes. That makes sense? This is him. So he gets that respect. He gets that praise. It's not that we worship Christ more than the Father. That's impossible because Christ is the Son of the Father. By worshiping Christ, you worship the Father. They're on the same accord. Now, if Christ was going off to the left, saying, look, I know my Father said do this, but I'm saying do this, then that's different. If we going into idolatry and things like that. All right? So go back to that Genesis 49 and read verse 9.
Genesis chapter 49, verse 9.
Now, here's the thing. Everything before, it's all good. Hey, Judah, y'all going to be praised by y'all brethren. Brethren going to bow down and give super respect to you. That's the good side of it, but look what's going to befall them, though. Go ahead.
Judah is a lion's whelp.
Uh-huh.
From the prey, my son, thou art gone up.
It says Judah is a lion's whelp. Judah is a cub right now. We used to be this big, ferocious, and it says we're a cub now. Tiny, small, right? Go ahead.
From the prey, my son, thou art gone up.
It says from the prey, we have gone up. That means at one point in time, how you was on the foot, how you was having your foot on the neck of your enemies, it says you've gone up from that. You've let that go. You've stopped being that fierce, mighty lion that you used to be. Go ahead.
He stooped down, he couched as a lion and as an old lion. Who shall rouse him up?
It says you lost your juice. You used to be popping and now you not. What is that indicative of? Anytime Israel lost their power, why did that happen? Sin. The tribe of Judah became sinful. The whole nation became sinful. And that's why it's a double whammy, because the only reason why we need Christ is because we became sinful. Christ had to come through that kingly line to save us from our sins. The Most High was done with Israel. Israel, I don't want nothing to do with you. If Christ wouldn't have came and gave his life as an atonement for us, we would have no chance of reconciliation with the Most High. So that's the thing. He's saying, look, Judah, you good, man. King David, King Solomon, before he sinned, y'all got beautiful kings. Y'all priestly, kingly, all type of power and wealth is going to stream through y'all. Beautiful. But at a certain point in time later on, you're going to fall because of your transgressions. It says, we didn't stoop down as a lion, but not just any lion. It says an old lion. If you look at an old lion, they just sit there like old black men on porches, just smoking and sipping. That's what Israel is now. That's what Judah's become. Sipping lean, smoking cigarettes, getting drunk, high, playing in the streets, playing in traffic, gang banging. This is what we've become when we used to be doing that to our enemies, right? Go ahead.
Who shall rouse him up?
And then it said, who's going to rouse him up? Who's going to get him back on track? But read.
The scepter shall not depart from Judah.
It said the scepter shall not depart from Judah. That scepter is talking about that kingship. And we know who our king is, Yahushai. That's who's going to rise us up. Not just Judah, the whole nation. Go ahead.
Nor a lawgiver from between his feet. Until Shiloh come, and unto him shall the gathering of the people be.
Unto him shall the gathering of the people to be. We're actually getting into a prophecy of Christ right here. I'm not even going to go to all the different specifics, but there's scriptures that back up that exact saying. Go ahead.
Binding his foal unto the vine, and his ass's coat unto the choice vine, he washed his garment in wine, and his clothes in the blood of grapes.
And you can find that in Luke chapter 1, verse 32 through 33. And then read verse 12.
His eyes shall be red with wine, and his teeth white with milk.
So, of course, we know this is dealing with a similitude. He's not going to have wine in his eyes. It's talking about his eyes is going to be red because of that anger, that fierce anger that he has for everything that's going on with his people here on this earth. Christ is the king, and he's the commander. When he comes back, he's the first one putting hands on our enemies. It says even the person that pierced him when he was on the cross is going to have to get it. It says, and his teeth white with milk. That white dealing with that pureness. We're in Genesis 49, verse 12. That whiteness dealing with that purity, that righteousness. Everything he spoke was righteous. Remember, he speaks what the Most High speaks. He's his son. Complete holiness and godliness is what we're dealing with, and this is talking about Christ. So, like I said, I don't even want to jump through all the different tribes because it's going to be the same scenario. It makes complete sense with what the scriptures have to say and zero sense as far as who we are and where we're going to be living at in the end days. Just saying that right there is kind of like a left field like statement. Like, where does that even – it don't make sense. Not what we're dealing with at all, right? So here's the thing. Jake's be coming up with these, when I say Jake's, I mean Jacob, children of Israel. Brothers come up with these doctrines and these understandings, always trying to find a different angle to like shine a special spotlight on themselves to be like, look, this is the understanding I have. If you want it, you got to come and be under me. Like, you try to put a monopoly on the word. We don't have to do that. The Most High said, just speak what I say. There's nothing new that you're going to bring that I haven't said already. Unless you bring in something I haven't said. And if you're doing that, now you're finding yourself in danger. Because if you don't speak what the Most High said, he said he got a special place for you when you die. When that judgment happens, I got a special place for you because you teaching my people something other than what I've instructed. We ain't got to do that, Israel. Everyone trying to carve out their own lane to make it look like, oh, man, that's one of the top teachers in Israel. And well, 9 times out of 10, they always got an angle. They might be right on 8 out of 10 things, but it's those little 2 things that they bring in that's just not really scriptural to make it be like, you know what, yeah, I'm different. I'm not like the rest of y'all. Damn. You're going to justify it that way, huh? Yeah, there's always an angle, man. It's the scriptures talk about that. We living in those days where men want to gather people unto themselves. Remember, it said, unto Christ shall the gathering of the people be. You ain't got to be with True Nation to serve the Most High. We ain't never said if you ain't with us, then you ain't keeping the commandments right. we the only ones out here teaching the Bible the best way. Man, we don't know who's out there teaching the Bible probably better than us. We just dealing with what the Most High gave us and trying to build upon that foundation. If y'all doing y'all works out there, man, all praises. You're not going to find us saying, yeah, don't go there because them brothers, they teach like this. And only time we going to tell you don't go somewhere is if they wicked. That's it. That's the responsibility we have as brothers and sisters to the nation. If there was wickedness within here that wasn't getting corrected, I wouldn't encourage you to be here. Period. I probably wouldn't be here. This is what we dealing with, though, y'all. So, you know, the thing is, like I said, brothers, they doing these things to try to make themselves look a certain way. It becomes dangerous at that point. You playing a dangerous game. You know, we're not in that business to be doing that. You leave that to the world. You want to be the man and be looked at for, find something worldly then to be that man in. Be the best singer there is. Be the best juggler, hell, anything to say, yeah, I'm the man in this. Don't play with the word of the Most High. So, and then here's the thing, right? Go to Revelation chapter 22. Revelation 22, verse 12.
Revelations chapter 22, verse 12.
And this is the danger that you fall in when you start playing with the word of the Most High. Read.
And behold, I come quickly, and my reward is with me to give every man according as his work shall be. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. Blessed are they that do his commandments.
Blessed are they that do the commandments, period. If you doing these commandments, you're going to be blessed. Go ahead.
That they may have right to the tree of life and may enter in through the gates into the city.
Because if you found keeping these commandments, you're going to be able to have access into the kingdom of heaven. Go ahead.
For without our dogs.
Everybody who's without the kingdom, they didn't make it inside those gates, was dogs. Go ahead.
And sorcerers.
Sorcerers. We're dealing with wicked people. Go ahead.
And whoremongers. And murderers. And idolaters.
Watch this.
And whosoever loveth and maketh a lie.
It says you may not even be the person who made the lie, but if you love it, you just as guilty. That's what a lot of our people do in Israel. Blatant lies. They're not even the ones who created it. I don't know who the hell created this tribe chart. I ain't never met him. How many people love this understanding though? Well, we going into it right now. Hold on one second.
This was Revelations chapter 22. Which part exactly? We was reading from verse 12 to 15. Verse 15 to be exact.
My apologies. Go ahead and read that again.
Revelations chapter 22, verse 15. For without our dogs and sorcerers and whoremongers and murderers and idolaters and whosoever loveth and maketh a lie.
So you were saying, like, how do we know that's not really the case? We've been going through it all tonight, and it don't add up. The thing is, you would say it's a harmless lie, right? A little white lie. It's harmless. I'm not telling brothers to go out there and sin. I'm just trying to give us something to identify with. But if I wanted to be lied to, I could have stayed in the Christian church. Most High said he's a spirit, and they that worship him must do it in spirit and in truth. The Most High didn't have to lie to us about nothing. So we don't have to do that amongst each other. Truth is, we don't know what tribe we're from. That's okay. It's okay. You keeping the commandments, right? You know what tribe you from? You keeping the commandments? You know what tribe you from?
Nope.
Our people knew what tribe we was from when we still went into slavery. Most High, like, they trying to make a big deal. You got to know who you are. And, our people knew who we was, and we still went into captivity for sinning. So it's not a big deal as people trying to make it. And the reason why I say it's not a big deal is because in the book of Revelation, If you found keeping the commandments, the Most High said, I got a special gate for you. Whatever tribe you're from, you're going to go through that gate. Let me get that. Revelation chapter 21, verse 11.
Revelations chapter 21, verse 11. Having the glory of God, and her light was like unto a stone most precious, even like a jasper stone, clear as crystal.
This talking about the kingdom. Go ahead.
And had a wall great and high.
It had a big old high, great wall, because everybody who's outside the kingdom won't be able to climb their way in. You ain't gonna be able to break in. You just didn't make it. Go ahead.
And have 12 gates, and at the gates 12 angels.
Look at that. You got like a shofar at the gate. Go ahead.
And names written thereon, which are the names of the 12 tribes of the children of Israel.
If you make it to the kingdom, you're going to know what tribe you from, period. Most High said, I got it for you already. And the thing is, it's so dangerous because it starts small, PZ, right? I can feed you something that small. And then over time, it starts to grow bigger and bigger and bigger. For example, go to Jeremiah 14 and 2. I'll show you how like little misunderstandings end up becoming a huge deal, because at a certain point they start becoming blatant lies. Because if you have a misunderstanding, that's one thing. You could be like, I'm not too sure about it. But when you make a stance, no, this is what it's saying. Now you're lying, right? Jeremiah 14 and 2, read this.
Jeremiah chapter 14, verse 2. Judah mourneth, and the gates thereof languish. They are black unto the ground, and the cry of Jerusalem is gone up.
What's that saying?
This is not a color scripture.
He got straight to it. Jeremiah 14 and 2. So the reason why I brought this out is we know that there's scriptures in the Bible that talks about the color of Israel, us being dark-skinned, melanated people. People say that this is a color scripture. It says, Judah mourneth, right? The tribe of Judah is mourning. We're sad. It says, and the gates thereof languish. The gates, you know, the gates of a city, the entrances, the people that's supposed to be looking out for the city, they're languishing, they're upset, they're sad. It says, and they're black unto the ground. See? We're black to the ground, to the feet. That's what they say. And we'll argue that this is what this is talking about. Go to Lamentations chapter 2 and verse 8. You'll find out that's not at all what it's talking about. How you going to sit here and say the tribe of Judah is mourning, they're upset. Oh, yeah, and by the way, they black as hell. Black to the ground. Go to Lamentations and read 2 and verse 8.
The book of Lamentations, chapter 2, verse 8, the Lord had purpose to destroy the wall of the daughters of Zion. He had stretched out a line. He had not withdrawn his hand from the destroying.
Now this makes a little bit more sense as to see why the children of Judah were upset. We're being destroyed. Go ahead.
Therefore, he made them rampart and a wall to lament.
Because we had walls in our kingdom, just like in the New Jerusalem got a wall great and high. We had walls on our city, and that wall was lamenting, being in a sad mourning state because it's being blown down. Go ahead.
They languish together.
Watch this. Go ahead.
Her gates are sunk into the ground. He had destroyed and broken her bars. Her king and her princes are amongst the Gentiles. The law is no more. Her prophets also find no vision from the Lord.
This is why the people of Judah were mourning. When you get into the gates being black into the ground, Nehemiah chapter 1 verse 3 says that those gates were on fire. Our cities were being besieged. That's why the gates was black into the ground. It has nothing to do with skin color. Again, small misunderstandings become lies when you finally take a stance. No, this is a color scripture. Not a color scripture. Our nation was being destroyed by enemies. That's why the gates was black into the ground. They was on fire. Here, just so you know, I'm not pulling nothing out of my butt. Nehemiah chapter 2 and verse 17. It says, then said I unto them, ye see the distress that we are in, how Jerusalem lieth waste, and the gates thereof are burnt with fire. That's why they're black unto the ground. Simple misunderstanding becomes a big problem when you make a stance and start to push, hey, no, this is what it's talking about. Because then the thing is, what else are you misunderstanding that you pushing as a doctrine? Then you see where people start saying, oh, you ain't got to, just because you having sex with somebody doesn't mean you're married. You start seeing those doctrines come out. Now we got fornication running rampant within the nation. Sisters, you could divorce your husband if you're not happy, you're not satisfied. Fornication, right? All different type of misunderstandings and lies start to come just from little incidents. So let's go to the book of Ezra, and we getting ready to close out because, like I said, it's already a done deal. The scriptures verify with our spirit as far as we know we the children of Israel. The scriptures never say that we was gonna know who we was in these last days. It just doesn't. And to be honest, there's genius even with that, the Most High doing that. In a day and age, think about it, because remember, this scripture is about to touch on it right here. Read this verse, actually. Ezra chapter 2 and verse 62.
The book of Ezra chapter 2, verse 62, these sought their register among those that were reckoned by genealogy. But they were not found, therefore were they as polluted, put from their priesthood.
So you had a family who descended from the lines of the priests. Because remember, you had to actually come from that lineage to do the priestly works. If you was in a priest and you was doing the priestly works, the Most High would put you to death on the spot. These were actually priests. They came from the priestly line. But remember, all the different divisions that happened within our kingdom, all the different captivities we went into. It said, look, when it came time for them to present themselves to the priests, it said that they couldn't find their records to prove that they actually were priests. And the priest said that they were polluted from the priesthood. They did not give them access because they couldn't prove it. He said, look, show me your record. But he was like, but man, I was born in Babylon. I'm a Levite. He said, I need your record to prove this is who you come from. He didn't care about where he was born. He could have been born in Jerusalem. But if he didn't have that registry to prove it, it didn't matter. Again, goes to show, you can't just say you're of this tribe because of where you're born. All the different migrations and all the different migrations that happened over the years that we don't even know about. Had a family that was 6 generations living in Japan. You would say, well, I'm Japanese. But the previous 10 generations was living in Iraq. All it takes for one generation, a person to move somewhere, and if that person never moves, ooh, turn me down. If that person, check. If that person never moves, that's all you're going to know. So this person said he couldn't prove through record who he came from, so he didn't get access to the priesthood. So that's why I was saying there's kind of genius with the Most High. The fact that we don't have our records in a day and age where all it takes is for you to fill out an application online and you can change your whole identity, we'd have a whole bunch of Edomites sitting up in here talking about, I'm a Jew. Look, it's on my paper. You can change your gender in America. You can change your name. Why would the Most High put that in this place as simple as you just have it on a piece of paper, what tribe you come from, and I believe you? Because it's a sin to have other nations up in here worshiping and praising the Most High with us. They worship from afar. On our feast days, Passover, you can't have no Edomites keeping Passover with you. But if they brought a piece of paper saying, hey, I was born here. No, Most High said in today's day and age, you're going to know you an Israelite, one, because your spirit's going to bear witness. You're going to have that inkling and be like, you know what, let me look into this some more. And then with that, you're going to have that spirit of conviction that I do got to keep these commandments. And when you keep these commandments, at that point it's understood, yeah, that's an Israelite. Because sometimes you got people that look like us, but they not us. They be other nations. Holly Berry, she an Edomite. Lauren London, she an Edomite. Bob Marley, he's an Edomite. Black people love him. He said, I love him. I like his music, I ain't gonna lie. But, that's what we dealing with. So here's the thing. Go to Jeremiah chapter 17 and verse 4. And this goes to further prove that we're not going to know exactly what tribe we come from in today's age.
Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 4, and thou, even thyself, shalt discontinue from thy heritage.
We're going to do what?
Shall discontinue from thine heritage.
Let's get the definition of discontinue. It says discontinue, to break the continuity of, cease to operate, administer, use, produce, or take, to abandon or terminate, to come to an end. Read that again.
And thou, even thyself, shalt discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee.
That was the main thing of knowing which tribe you came from, because our forefathers passed down an inheritance. We had the land of Israel. Within our land, we had specific allotments of land for each tribe. Tribe of Judah, your land is over there. Levi, you dispersed amongst everybody because you priests. Simeon, Reuben or whatever, you over here. Manasseh, you over here. Most High said we was going to discontinue from that. That came to an end. We don't know. Not to say you're not an Israelite, but you're not going to know our inheritance of our forefathers does nothing for us today in America. We're not looking to get the same piece of land that they had thousands of years ago. We're getting the kingdom now. Our inheritance is different. We don't know what tribe we from. It's that simple. We got discontinued. But Israel will fight tooth and nail. No. Dude, we got discontinued. It's that simple. We will find out if and when we make it to the kingdom. But some of these same dudes going so hard to make sure that they can identify with a tribe, these same dudes teaching these heresies, filthy doctrines, horrible, disgusting, everything against righteousness. It's a shame, man. And that's why you could write down 1 Timothy chapter 1 and verse 4. You got to look at the name Timothy. You think he grew up an Israelite? He grew up under the other nations. I think that's a Greek name. Paul was giving him some wisdom. He said, look, Timothy, you waking up, you know you an Israelite now? Something you should know about. Don't get caught up in false doctrines, vain opinions, and endless genealogies. Because that's what people go, well, my father came from this person and this person and this person. You can only go back so far. Even the scriptures, you only can go back so far. That's why we kept a registry. Most of us don't even know our great-grandparents' names. How the hell you going to know what tribe you came from? You know your great-grandpa name? You know your great-grandpa name? Me neither. But that's what I'm saying, though. How are we supposed to produce our cause then on what tribe we come from? We don't even know who we come from. But our spirit bear witness. So that's why he's telling Timothy, look, don't get caught up in that. Endless disputes, all they do is bring up strife and vain opinions about the laws and strife. Just let it go. Keep these commandments. You'll find out later. So something else I wanted to get into just to close out. Give me and then write down also Zechariah chapter 7 and verse 14. That lets us know that when the Most High sent us through all these different captivities, he scattered us like a whirlwind through all the nations of the earth. The problem with this doctrine is that it only identifies those living in the Americas. We have a congregation in Africa and Ghana. I couldn't go out there looking at that 12-tribe chart and be like, you come from this tribe. Why would it only be specific to Israelites living in America? Why wouldn't Israelites globally be able to identify what tribe they come from? Because it's not scriptural. Zechariah 7, verse 14. Most High scattered us in all nations. That was, and the one in Timothy was 1 Timothy 1 and verse 4. So, even within, because there was a whole lot of captivities that our people went in just getting to the New Testament, right? Go to Luke chapter 2, verse 35. Because the way that brothers would teach it, it was only the southern kingdom living in Judea. Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Those were the three tribes. And those are the ones who got sent into Africa during the siege of 70 AD. And then from Africa, they came here to America. That's how we know who they are. But watch this, because our people are as the sand of the sea. There's no way the Most High just handpicked, all right, all 7 of these tribes, you're going into captivity. Again, people move. I've lived in Arizona, I've lived in Texas, I've lived in Sacramento, all these different stages within my life. What if I was one of the tribes of the Southern Kingdom and I moved to one of the Northern Kingdom countries and I went into captivity with them? Once I start having kids, Southern Kingdom kids is going to be brought up in that territory. It wasn't just a clean break off like that. Israel mingled with one another. We're a nation. Even though we had tribes, we were still a nation. Judah might have went and dwelt over here for a couple of years. People from Zebulun might have went and dwelt over here for a couple of years. And we're going to see that right here, because, again, they would teach that in Judea during the time of Christ, it was only those 3 tribes. Everyone else went into Babylon and Assyria. They got taken away, captives, right? Read that, Luke 2, verse 35.
Luke chapter 2, verse 35. Yea, a sword shall pierce through thy own soul also, that the thoughts of many hearts may be revealed.
So we dealing with Christ right here, right? Go ahead.
And there was one Anna, a prophetess, the daughter of Phanuel.
So there was a woman named Anna living at this time in Judea, right? Guess what tribe she was from? Go ahead.
Of the tribe of Asher.
She came from the tribe of Asher. So I'm pretty sure she had a father and a mother, probably had some brothers and cousins who probably was all living in that same area. So guess what? When our people got kicked out of Judea, there were some Asherites that went into captivity too, which is why it makes no sense to say when all of that happened, all the tribe of Levi went to Haiti. How do you know that? They just stayed there forever, haven't moved to this day? Come on now. It's ridiculous. That's proof showing you that the 12 tribes chart is impossible. The fact that the tribes was already mingled in Judea before we went into slavery, if it was one, there was many. It was impossible just a clean break. All right, all Levites, you get on this boat. All the Judites, you get on this boat. And you know, with the sprinkle of Asherites, you just stay here. That's not how it went. It was getting rounded up and thrown onto ships. And that's the next thing I'm about to bring up too, because all praise be to the Most High, we actually had a chance to travel. We went to Africa. We went to the Gold Coast where it all went down, where we was getting put on them slave ships to come here. And their history is being told a little bit different over there from what we're receiving over here, right? Watch this. Go to the PowerPoint, Shamar. All right, so we got some historical sources, right? This book right here, I recommend everybody get. Actually, come back to the thing real quick so you can see the book, hopefully. This book is called Christopher Columbus and the Participation of the Jews in the Spanish and Portuguese Discoveries. If you've never looked into the Spanish Inquisition, we're dealing with like the 15th century, the 14th century AD. Our people have a lot to offer to everything that's going on with the world today, as far as like technological advances we're dealing with like stars, understanding how to navigate using the skies, sea travel, boating. Our people contributed most of that information and most of that knowledge. That came from us. So this book is by a dude named Meyer Kaiserling. If I'm not mistaken, I believe he was a German a historian, right? And he dedicated his life to studying the history of the Jews. You can look him up. He had access to the catacombs, to all these different vaults where historical texts were being kept, especially like in Spain. Like, you familiar with the Vatican? The Vatican is like where the Pope resides and everything like that. They have a lot of historical information stored within the Vatican. All the different museums and everything underneath, they keep historical artifacts because, you know, the Roman Catholic Church, back in the day, they went on rampages throughout history, raping, robbing people, white people stuff. But they hold all those artifacts. this dude had firsthand access to those artifacts. Not to the Vatican specifically, but just certain, historic documentation. So with this, he goes extensively, again, firsthand information, primary sources of letters that was written by Christopher Columbus, letters that was getting written back and forth from Spain to America to get to the kings and the queens of Spain and all that time. He had access to all of that. And what you'll find out is pretty amazing. One, it was thousands upon thousands of our people living in Spain. What tribe was they from? That's my first question. Never know, right? Because it's not on the 12 tribes chart. How do we get into Spain? Through slavery. We get bounced around. Most High said we was going to be scattered in all different nations. So the thing is, don't just start with America because it's convenient. Well, we came from Africa. Well, we're going to see we also came from Spain. So what tribe was the people living in Spain? How you know some of those people that was in Spain didn't stop in Haiti? They still just Levi? So let's go back to the PowerPoint. This is, we'll go to page 196, because, should have marked it better. I'm going to just read it from here. It says, in Castile as well as Aragon, certain Jews, and especially many Marranos. Marranos is a term meaning secret Jew, because it was illegal for our people to keep the Most High's commandments at that point in time, because they were pushing Catholicism and Christianity. They were forcing our people to become that instead of what we were. And it was crime, punishable by death. So the Marranos were called the secret Jews. It says, the Marranos wielded considerable influence. The name Marrano was applied to the persons of Jewish stock whose parents or grandparents had been driven by despair, again, always being conquered and being driven out of our lands, had been driven by despair and dire persecution to accept Christianity. Though outwardly Christians, they secretly observed the tenets of the Jewish faith. It says they celebrated the Sabbath and holy days, assembled in subterranean, it's a little dark, subterranean or other secret synagogues, and practiced Jewish rites in their homes. It said they thus remained Jews, and eventually it says they suffered death because of it. Our people were putting their lives on the line to make sure that we was upholding these commandments. That's why it's a slap in the face today to see people just give up on the Most High like that. People have turbulent times in their relationship, and they throw the Most High in the back. It's a slap in the face to our forefathers and foremothers who made these sacrifices, right? Watch this. It says Jews that was in Columbus's fleet. It says, for example, Luis de Torres, a Jew who had occupied a position under the governor of Murcia and who was baptized shortly before Columbus sailed, as he understood Hebrew, Chaldee, and some Arabic, Columbus employed him as an interpreter. Now here's the thing. Columbus is known for what? Discovering America, right? Why would he have to bring a Hebrew interpreter with him when he came over here to America? That's because the Bible already told our people that the 10 tribes, the majority of them, came to America after they left the Assyrian captivity. The Bible is true. Columbus used the Bible to find Israel, right? Watch this. This was something that was argued years after, way before today's time, but not too long after Columbus's time. It says, the descent of the Americans is dealing with the Indians, is in fact a question which has often been discussed since the discovery of America down to present day. They've always been discussing us, right? Now watch this. It is not improbable that the Jews who were driven from Nineveh by Shalmaneser the king wandered into uninhabited regions. And that's exactly what the book of 2nd Ezra talks about, how we were going to travel into the land known as Arsareth, this land, right? The language of the Indians in Hispaniola, Cuba, Jamaica, and the adjoining islands. Because here's the thing. When you're dealing with the 12 tribes chart, they only focus on key areas. They dealing with the Cherokee Indians, the Seminole Indians. They dealing with specific spots within America. Columbus was traveling all through this place. He went to Cuba, Jamaica, and all the adjoining islands. It says he contends that it has many resemblances to Hebrew. What tribes were they from? Those lands was already occupied, because leave it to the 12 tribes chart. If you living in Jamaica, then you're the tribe of what, Benjamin? Yeah, I think it's Benjamin. They say if you living in Jamaica, you're the tribe of Benjamin. It was Israelites already in Jamaica. This is before the slave trade. Remember, 1492 was when Christopher Columbus did his thing. 1619 is the coined year for African-American slavery. That's a big time gap, right? So who was the tribes already living in these places? If you're from Cuba, who are you? Manasseh. If you're from Cuba, you're a Manassite. But who were they? What tribe was they from? They was already there. And this is where it says that Columbus read the Bible. It says he was also very fond of reading the Bible and the fourth book of Ezra. It's also known as the second book of Ezra, which you'll find in your Apocrypha called Second Esdras. It says, according to his own assertion, because remember, he had his notes. Dude, Meyer Kaiserling was able to see firsthand notes from Christopher Columbus. It says, according to his own assertion, the incentive that impelled him to plan his discoveries was not a love of science, because that's what they always say. Oh, he was just a scientist and he just loved the seas, and by his own merit, he just wanted to go out and discover. They said, bull. His interpretation of the prophecies of Isaiah is what made him want to go and start discovering stuff. They don't teach us that in school. He was reading the Bible. That's what made him want to start exploring. That's all I have for that, right? Just to kind of bring a couple of things out. But here's the thing that I wanted to bring out. Because watch this. This was the information I gathered when we went over there to Ghana. We went to Elamina Castle. That's the Golden Coast. That's where our people were being shipped off to come here to America. It was a Portuguese slave castle, and it's approximately 537 years old. Black people, we always talk about the 400 years of slavery. Remember, we're not getting the same information that these other countries have where stuff actually took place. First fact of the night, slave trading actually started officially in 1471, not 1619. 1471, right? In 1441 was the first slave ship that came from Portugal, was taking people back to be trained as interpreters. Keep this in mind. This is 1441. 1492, about, what was that, 50 years? About 50 years later is when Christopher Columbus came over here to the Americas, and he came from Spain. Those same interpreters were the same people that Christopher Columbus was taking with him on his discoveries over here. They were being trained as interpreters. They were learning the Hebrew language, learning the Paleo, right? In 1503 is when the first ships actually set sail to America, not 1619. So again, you had Israelites being taken from Spain as Hebrew interpreters to come and meet the other Israelites already here in America. With all that information, this tribe chart, it just doesn't hold up. It's impossible. Because you would have to tell me what tribe specifically was living in Ghana, the ones that got taken from Ghana to Portugal and Spain, right, as interpreters. And remember, there was already Israelites in Spain. What tribe were they from? And then when both of those two tribes or three tribes met up in Spain, they came here to America to meet the other tribes that was already here. What tribes were they from? It's impossible to know. And that's why it's a foolish doctrine. That's how you know it's not scriptural. Like, it's impossible. It's impossible. So, all praise be to the Most High. Like I said, Israel is necessary because we have to expose these things. We got to make sure we speak in truth. The truth is we don't know what tribe we come from, and it's okay. The Most High said, keep these commandments, and I will give you understanding once you make it to the kingdom. I got a designated location for you. Got your name written in gold, right on a plaque. Boom. Judah, Levi, Manasseh. We're going to find out. We just got to keep these commandments and make sure that we're not taking it upon ourselves to teach something other than what the Most High has given us as sound doctrine, all right? So with that, I'm going to close out. All praise be to the Most High.